Thank you very much. And if we can, I'm going to start the questioning, Commissioner, with you. And as I discussed in my opening statement, there's clearly a compelling need to reform SSA's management of disability insurance program. And I know you're taking some steps right now to try and address the backlog with the creation of units focused exclusively on processing disability claims and the effort to bring on additional administrative law judges that you mentioned in your opening statement. Unfortunately, it appears like it's going to take quite a bit of time to actually make much progress in this area. I'm also concerned about the differences between states when it comes to the approval rate for disability application. And that strikes me as something that has more to do with who's making the decision, and the lack of uniformity there is a considerable concern. So given those two concerns, could you bring us up to date on what you plan to do this fiscal year to process disability claims, and including both the initial claims and the appeals? And then could you discuss, in your view, some of the reasons for the disparate approval rates by states, and some of the measures you might be taking to try and address that concern?
Okay, thank you very much. Let me start first with what we're doing to try to address the entire disability adjudication process. Certainly, resources allow us to get hearings done, allow us to do our initial claims. But in addition to that, I've established an inter-component committee that's looking at our process from beginning to end to see if there are efficiencies that might exist that we have not already identified. We know that we cannot staff our way out of the backlogs that we have. I do believe we are a very efficient agency, as was demonstrated earlier. Our overhead is only 1.3%, but I think there's always room for improvement, and so we're looking at that. I think the President's budget will allow us to make some improvements with the early intervention demonstration projects. We want to see if there's the ability to have people not come onto our rolls as quickly, to stay in the job market, and we believe that perhaps with some supports that might be able to occur. We've had demonstrations that demonstrated that some interventions will allow people to return to work, but they've been very modest. So we believe that we have to do things that will stop them from coming on the rolls.
When you talk about early intervention, could you give us some of the specific things that you do when you're trying to sort of head somebody off from going on to disability?
Well, the demonstration, and we're working with HHS so that we can make certain that we select the right population. We're looking potentially at those individuals who have been denied disability to begin with, to see if there are things that will enable them to continue to work and not have to come into our system as quickly as they normally would. And we think that perhaps some supportive vocational and medical services, some opportunities for accommodations on the job. So one of the proposals would include work incentives to employers, but also we need to really test to see what types of supports would work. I think that that's one of the areas that we can certainly work with Secretary Greenlee on, since she's working with the disabled population. We know that people want to work, and we know that many of them are in and out of the job market, and we believe that with some support. So we don't have a specific answer. We really need to demonstrate what will work. So the research, the $50 million that's been requested would allow us to do research. We would have an evaluation component so we could determine what works and what does not work. We'd work with the local groups at the local level. And I think that with vocational rehabilitation, with aging, and some of the other services, we would be able to come up with some solutions.
And if you could address this, the issue of disparate outcomes in different states.
Right. I think that my answer to that would be that that is not unexpected. It depends upon the populations in those states. For instance, if you're in a community that has a high labor force that's doing very hard work, coal mining or some of the other types of industries, you would see a higher rate of disability, perhaps as a result of aging. In your areas where you have more office-type jobs or more IT jobs, you might in fact see less approvals. But what we do, we have inline quality review. We have a strong quality review program to make sure that we're making the right decisions at both the initial as well as through the hearings process. And we focus a lot on that because we want to make sure that the decisions are correct. We do reviews of 50% of all decisions that are made at the DDS level, which is the first level prior to a benefit ever being paid, and the approval rate has consistently remained high. I mean, the accuracy rate has persistently remained high. So we do believe that the decisions that are made at the DDS level are the right decisions. Now, I know you've had some concern about at the hearings level, and that's usually because the case is probably well over a year, sometimes 2 years by the time it gets to the hearings level, and so you have a different case. You have situations where individuals' disabilities have increased, and so you're likely to get a different decision there.
Okay, just and very quickly, because I'm going over my 5 minutes here, and I'm going to be pretty rigorous in enforcing on other people. So, but I'll take it private. Just to you're pretty comfortable in your own mind then that most of the disparities we're seeing really do reflect population differences at a state level?
I really am. We do focus reviews at the ALJ level. We do quality reviews. In addition to doing the pre-effectuation reviews, we do policy reviews to see if the decisions are policy compliant. Our approval rate now at the DDS level is 32%. Some would argue that that's too low. I try not to look at approval or disapproval, but really look at the right decision. But for the past several years, we've been consistent with the rate of disapprovals.
Thank you very much. Recognize